We are still on the Bryan factor. I'll come to you at Makokisi, but let me bring in Head of Research here at JoyNews to look at the numbers. What numbers did Bryan bring, or what numbers does he command that makes his factor one important element that the party should consider? Kofi Ajay is our lead researcher here. Kofi, Transall is good.
Yeah, I mean, important to focus on the numbers this morning, because what happened on Saturday was a numbers game, and you saw how we said it, that there was going to be what we're calling the combined third force, and significantly that was going to come from Bryan Acheampong, and he did that on Saturday, polling more than 18% of the valid vote cast on Saturday. But if going into the election, we were looking at these numbers and we're saying that, well, before you can become flag bearer of the NPP, you needed to be a win 50% plus one, right? And looking at the number of delegates who were going to vote on the day were about 211,000. So our computations showed that if everybody was expected to turn out to come and vote, because, you know, the stakes are high, then for you to be able to win, you need about 105,926, right? So using, I mean, what we know so far in terms of the turnout, right? Using a turnout of, let's say, 95% from history, delegate elections have very high turnout. So let's use 95% turnout, right? That will mean that to be able to win, you needed 100,629. So we tried to do some scenario analysis for all the candidates, especially for Dr. Bawumia and Kennedy Acheampong, right? This was their numbers in 2023, what they had to get in 2026 to actually cross 50% plus or minus one. And I agree that it would have taken a lot for Bawumia not to win on Saturday, right? Because he put himself in a position in 2023 that made it possible for him to maintain that flag bearer status in 2026. Why? Because he was able to gain more than 118,000 in 2023. He needed just about 100,620. If we are using a 95% turnout rate, he needed this number to win one touch. For Kennedy Acheampong, he was at 71,991. And for him to be here and to win one touch, he needed to convince over 28,000 delegates, new delegates, to actually join. Let's see what happened. Now, we did this analysis and said that, look, this is the delegate population, those who are going to vote. And from 1992, what we realize is that the delegate population has gone up by more than 100 times. From close to about 2,000 delegates in 1992 that elected Edu Boahen. Today, we are talking about more than 211,000. And we said that, well, there were even new entrants, over, 8,000 delegates who were new entrants, and that vote was also for grabs. Let's look at the points that our panelists made in terms of those who did not put themselves up for this election again. And the person of Adainimo and the Free Akoto. What we realized was that in 2023, the two of them combined were able to get some 2,240 votes. Because if you add that to the new entrants, going into the election, you had about 10,650 votes for grabs. And our analysis showed that this new entrant, plus the vote that Adainimo and Efiri Akoto left behind, a significant component of that went to Bryan Acheampong. Very, very significant. And in fact, if you look at the regional distribution, you see how Bryan Acheampong strategically actually won regions like the Volta region, which hitherto had been won by Kennedy Acheampong. Huge losses in terms of votes. The Ashanti region, Kennedy losing more than 2,000 votes. Losing, votes even in the central region and all that. I'll tell you about the story about how Bawumia actually gained votes in about 6 regions and how that helped him to maintain that momentum. Now, let's look at Saturday's votes versus what happened in 2023. This was Bawumia's situation, right? And I said that he needed some 100,000 votes to win, one touch. Yes. And he was able to get 110,643. It means that was enough for him to be flag bearer. Just look at that versus what he got in 2023. So although he lost votes, he did not lose votes as much as Kennedy Acheampong did. Kennedy Acheampong, per our analysis, lost close to about an equivalent of the votes he needed to reach 50% plus one. He lost more than 20,000 votes, if you look at this chart. That made it difficult for him. The analysis also showed that Bawumia, although lost about 7,000 of his votes, close to about more than 7,000 of his votes, Kennedy Acheampong, on the other hand, lost over 20,000 of his votes compared to what he had in 2023. And if you combine that, about 95% of that went to Bryan Acheampong. That was the reason why he was able to position himself as the third force in that race. Now, this is very interesting for me. These are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In fact, if you add the headquarters, 7, I should say regions, if you add the headquarters, that Bawumia actually appreciated in votes. So it wasn't a loss throughout. We should be able to understand it. That even in the Greater Accra region where Bawumia won, he was able to add some 818 votes, delegate votes, to what he had in 2023. Western region, 441 votes. In Bono region, where you have people like Abronye and co, significant increase in votes, 327. Savannah region, the only 2 northern regions that actually appreciated in vote. Bawumia actually gets some 260 votes, additional vote from the Savannah region. Central region, 83 votes. Headquarters was able to get some 4 votes, and northern region, 34 votes. Now, I want to tell you a story. Just look at this. How many of the swing regions can you identify?
Greater Accra, Western, Central.
In fact,
Northern is also.
In fact, the 3 traditional swing regions we have.
Yeah, Greater Western and Central.
Exactly.
Yeah.
These are the regions that Bawumia actually, increase in votes in terms of, the delegate votes. Very, very significant, and put him in a very good position to actually get that 56% that he got. Now, these were the places that he lost votes. And we need to pay attention to that. Eastern region, and this is why the Bryan effect was very important on Saturday. Eastern region, Bawumia lost over 2,000. He had actually lost about 2,900 votes, right? Very, very significant. Where did he go to? Significant component went to Bryan Acheampong. Although you had, Yao Seidu also polling some numbers in the Eastern region. Ashanti region where you had Educhum. And in fact, the Ashanti region, the vote that Dr. Bawumia lost, when we did the analysis, we saw that a significant component of that came from Bosome, the Bosomche districts, where Educhum stationed himself, won that constituency. In fact, Bawumia won 45. Then 2 didn't actually go to Bawumia. 1 of them actually went to Educhum. And the only place around the Bosomche place that he won was the Bosome Freo, right? But he lost Bosomche heavily.
That's where Educhum is the MP, right?
Yes, that's his playground. That's the place he's been able to give them an ultramodern school, the Bosomche Girls School and all that. On that day, they had no choice than to honor the man who has been with them throughout. He won that, and that was the vote Bawumia lost, 2,505. Now let's come to the Volta region. This is a region that Kennedy Acheampong won in 2023. But Bawumia actually lost votes there. Why? Because Bryan Acheampong, for the first time, won Volta region. Actually getting votes from Kennedy Acheampong and also Dr. Bawumia. Western North, Bawumia lost 749 votes.
And these are over his 2023 votes.
Exactly. We are doing some comparative analysis. And Upper West, he lost 574. Upper East, 456. And then you have also Ahafo. He lost votes there. Oti, he lost votes because we all know what happened. Oti, Bryan Acheampong also very, very significant. And in fact, if you look at the northern votes, I was shocked how Bryan Acheampong actually got more votes in the northern region than possibly we were expecting some of the other candidates to actually get. In terms of the over 33,000 vote that he got, you had a significant part of that coming from the northern region and places that NPP usually will find it difficult to actually get votes in the national election. A place like Volta region, a place like Upper West and Upper East, which has never voted NPP. These were the areas that Bryan Acheampong was actually getting votes from. And you have another place like the Bono East and Northeast. These are regions that NPP lost in the 2024 election. And Bawumia actually lost. Bryan Acheampong gaining significantly also.
They won Northeast, right?
Yeah, they won Northeast, but in terms of Bryan Acheampong's votes in Northeast, very significant.
Yeah.
But the expectation was that this was Bawumia's home region.
Yes, yes, yes.
So even if you are counting regions that he will lose votes relative to 2023, this should not be part. But this is the place that he lost 17 delegate votes. So in terms of the numbers, this was the picture that, panned out on Saturday. And if you are looking at why Bawumia actually didn't get more than 118,000 that he got in 2023, it was because he lost these votes in about 10 regions, right? But what actually saved him was the fact that he was able to increase votes in about 6 regions. If you add the headquarters, about 7. And significantly, what we can glean from this, trend or this pattern we are seeing is that all traditional swing regions actually increased in votes for Dr. Bawumia Akodwo.
But actually, he won 14 regions.
He won 14 regions, right?
So all these votes that he lost, a chunk of them went to Bryan Acheampong.
Exactly.
Okay.
I would prefer that the researcher hedges. May have,
okay.
because you cannot tell with certainty.
No, that's why I said a significant component.
Yeah,
not that. The whole thing went to.
What I'm saying is that let's hedge.
That's why it's significant components. It's also a hedge.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.